the first scene of the movie when you're sitting down at that table, the coming into Wall Street, and I want to sort of just take this back to people getting started along their journey because that was when that amazing scene with the chest bumping, right? In that moment, in the real world of Jordan Belfort, when you're stepping into Wall Street, like what was your vision back then before stepping to your first job at a broker? Like what was the plan? Because obviously,
Well, yeah, I'd sold door to door before. I had a company that I'd started. It was meat and seafood, and I built it up to 26 trucks. And the primary way we sold was door to door. We knock on people's homes. When I heard about a friend of mine making $1 million a year on Wall Street, I was shocked at the amount he was making. Um, and I said to myself, "Wow, that idiot can make a million. I can make 10." This was my thought, right? But I also heard they were doing it by the phone. That surprised me. I was like, the phone. I mean, I don't understand. People send you money over the phone. It seemed like an unlikely thing that people would do. But when I walked in that first day and I actually saw it happening, I was shocked. I mean, I couldn't believe that you could call a stranger up and pitch them a stock, and someone who never met you before would send $1 million across the country by wire to someone they never met to buy a stock they barely knew about. And just back then there was no internet, so it wasn't like you could research it. Even they took the broker's word for it. And that for me was a very much of a life changing experience. Just walking in and seeing that happen, that people would buy over the phone like that. Ultimately, I became the top salesman at doing that, and I trained people all over the world how to close on the phone and in person. But that was a big shift for me. That was the big one, was that people sell on the phone.
makes total sense. And just looking at the world now, when it comes to you have this massive brand and social media is so prevalent in today's world. Looking back to back then, building a brand, building a company, how has the world changed? And you've seen so much, you've been through so much along your journey. Now moving into 2019, what advice would you give to someone starting a business in today's age?
It's a good question. It's something very interesting to happen today. So I'm just really launching about a year ago. I really embarked on this program to really go after the B2B market, business to business sales, because I have a training program that's so effective, and I sell to a lot of large companies and smaller ones as well, and the results they get with it are just ridiculous. Salespeople soar; they double, triple their closing rate. Right? And I never aggressively pursued the B2B market because I didn't have a training that was set up for that. It wasn't on a robust enough platform. So about a year ago, I actually redid that program. Back when you saw me, I used to have all those people, so they were all actually redoing. That's what the 20 people were downstairs, all redoing something. Your camera girl knows me really for a long time, right? So I had all these people redoing this program, and it was a really expensive proposition, which thank God is now over. But I created this program, and then I never. And it's interesting. I never cared, where I ranked on Google with sales training programs or stuff like that, because my brand is so strong that when I walk down the street, I can't go from here to there without being stopped by somebody. Like, right, I saw you at Starbucks. I didn't know who it was you. I was like, oh, just another fan. Then I realized you were interviewing me after. But then as soon as I got outside, someone ran up to me in the street like a second later, right? So it's really interesting to me, the disconnect sometimes though about what you see online and what's in the real world. Up until about a year and a half ago, I had almost no social media at all. I was famous in the real world, and I didn't rely on social media or the internet. I just, because I had a movie, which is a cult hit, right? So everywhere I go, everyone knows the movie, right? But even today, I noticed, I said, wow, when it comes to business sales, I'm not even listed in these directories anywhere. I'm not listed as the top sales training program. It empirically is the top program. It is the book. If you go to the airport, it's number one on the bestsellers. But because I didn't play the game of, hey, let me go into these couple of 4 rating platforms and pay them $200 or shake their hand or agree to give them a picture. So there's a very interesting thing these days. I'm leading up to a very important point, is that how you actually are in the real world doesn't necessarily drive with what people see on the internet. And that could be either good or bad depending on what you do. Now, if you're a young person and you're just getting started, I bet you there's people on that list of top 20 sales trainers that couldn't even shine my shoes. Like they didn't even know the first thing about selling. Like they probably stole my content. They wrote a little bit of a pamphlet, but they knew someone. So if you would Google them, they say, "Oh, that guy really knows. He's an expert." That's a good thing for that person. I don't know how good it is for the consumers, But I think there's a lot of opportunity for young people right now because in the olden days, you had to really earn your bones. If you wanted to really be famous, you had to get famous the good old-fashioned way, which is do something extraordinary, get in trouble in some way, and come back. Something had to happen. You had to do something. Now it's no. You can act. I've seen people that have literally that have no sales acumen brand themselves as top sales trends because they advertise their way and SEO their way into those positions, and it works. So I'm not even saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying it's a fact of life. So I think that's a huge thing right now for people. And if you're young, it gives you this incredible advantage. And let me just say this. I wouldn't say it's an advantage. Let me rephrase that. Not an advantage, but it's an incredible equalizer for you because you could actually get yourself branded and known without being the real deal. Now, hopefully you'll have enough integrity to close that gap. So if you get yourself to the top of Google and you get yourself known, well, then you should actually hopefully be what you say you are. But if you want to do the work and become the expert too, then I think it's a very exciting time for people, for young people right now, because you can actually go up against people like me who've been doing it for their whole lives and really are the real deal. And if you're really savvy on social media, you can position yourself as an expert.
That makes sense.
You're not gonna have a movie behind you, so I have a little bit of an edge, but still. But no, but you get the point, though.
Totally.